Okay, here we are. And we are live now.
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, I warmly welcome you to our 36th webinar by the Academy of Space Renaissance International. My name is Sabine Heinz, and I'm the person responsible for our webinar series and one of the vice presidents of SRI, and also responsible for our art chapter. And on this 6th of March, I'm really delighted that you have come to join us. I wrote in the chat, Helmans, welcome. I wanted to write hi, welcome, but it's autocorrection. We have to apologize that our speaker, Jerry Stone, didn't show up 2 weeks ago in our last webinar. But he has had healthy emergency, and we hope he is recovering soon. And we send him our warmest greetings and wish him all the best. And we hope he will really recover soon. And Adriano wrote a really, really nice email, and he is right. We should take care for our neighbors and see if every one of our friends are well, doing well, because it could be happen that something is wrong, and so we should take care of each other. So again, Jerry, our warmest greetings, and we hope you will recover soon. Our today's special guest is Priscilla Thomas. She is an artist, and I'm so happy that I could win her to join us to give a webinar. We are now in the month of, in 2 days, we will have or celebrate the International Women's Day. And in this month, we will have especially feminine artists or female artists. And Priscilla is a member of the IAAA, the International Astronomical Society for Astronomical Artists. Yeah. And she will speak today about celebrating and continuing women's contributions to our push for the stars. Hello, Priscilla. Very, very warm welcome.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. This is something I feel very strongly about.
Yes. And I also would like to welcome Adriano Ortino. He is one of our vice presidents and former president and one of the founders of Space Renaissance International. Hello, Adriano.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sabine. And I'm very happy to have Priscilla with us today. And her art is really inspiring and very beautiful. And we are very eager and curious to see her last works. And celebrating women is, of course, a great thing to do, because, of course, we couldn't, our civilization couldn't go ahead without women. And we hope that our civilization will proceed better while women are gaining more importance in our world. And finally, our civilization will recognize to women their role and their importance. Therefore, art is celebrating all of this, and that is very, very good thing to do. So, very welcome, Priscilla. And okay, I will be happy to see your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Before I give you the floor, Priscilla, I would like to introduce you to our audience. By the way, I really like the title picture of your presentation. I love this picture. Priscilla Thomas shares a wonder that exists where space and soul collide. Her art has been featured in books and magazines, and including Astronomy magazine's 50 Greatest Cosmic Science Edition. And she has presented at the Space Renaissance International Fair in Berlin, in Germany, at our Space Renaissance Art and Science Festival. and at the Mars Society's International Convention last year. I was happy that I could join it too. And her art was shared at the month-long Space and Soul Together solo show. And she has multiple pieces on loan, including a piece displayed at Lowell Observatory. And she is also attended and covered multiple space launches and numerous NASA media exclusive open house events. Priscilla, we are really happy to have you here, and we are now looking forward to see your lecture. If you could make it in full screen.
Okay, I believe it is full screen. I should be sharing with you. Is it not showing up as sharing?
No, by view, and then you have to put full screen. Look at view. Put, yeah.
Ah, there we go. Yes.
Not yet.
Oh.
Moment. Yeah, now we have it. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Okay, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. Happy Women's Month. And I wanted to just share with you this because it is so very important to me that we recognize women and the contributions that they've had, but also encourage future contributions and see what we can do to keep those contributions coming. Not so long ago, I was just a little girl, and my mind was a blank, what they call a blank slate. And I was so eager to discover the world around me. It was during the Apollo 4 launch that my curiosity about space and space exploration was piqued. I remember in my first grade class being marched along with all the other kids into the classroom, the gymnasium rather, and there were rows of little wooden chairs for our little booties, and up on a ladder, wooden ladder, there was a little black and white TV. We were all gathered to witness the Apollo 4 launch. I was thrilled at the prospect of humanity finally escaping Earth's gravity well. From that moment on, I knew I wanted to explore the unknown and go on exciting adventures. But later, when I went to my high school guidance counselor, he let me know that girls don't become astronauts. And at that time, it was true. We didn't have female astronauts yet. Despite the disappointment, I refused to let go of my passion for aerospace, and I decided to become an aerospace technician in the Air Force instead. And that was a wonderful experience. But eventually, societal expectations came along. I got married, became a mother, and I was grateful for that. But I couldn't help feel that I had left something unfinished behind. This experience of being discouraged from pursuing my dreams as a young girl wasn't unique to me. Many girls in the 1960s, especially those growing up in rural America like I was, faced similar challenges. And despite having a father who believed in my capabilities, the societal norms of the time spoke more loudly in my still forming brain. Now, looking back, I realize how far we've come in terms of real and perceived opportunities for women, but there's still a lot of work to be done to ensure young girls are encouraged to pursue their passions and reach for the stars. In the past few decades, our society's undergone significant changes in various aspects. However, despite these changes, there are still wide swaths of our nation where things have remained stagnant. And this is the scary part, folks. In fact, according to the latest United Nations figures, women employed in the international space industry make up only 20% of the workforce. And even more scary, this number has remained unchanged for the last 30 years. It's disheartening to know that there are still many young women who don't see any paths forward in space careers. These girls may only experience reinforcing messages for traditional female roles, and this would discourage them from pursuing their dreams. It's unfortunate that there are still many cultural pockets, not just in the United States, but around the world, where girls just don't in air quotes, they're told girls don't become astronauts. I feel very strongly we can't afford to ignore and leave to waste up to 50. Women comprise 50% of the world's population, basically, and we can't afford to waste up to 50% of our contributors and allies due to just misinformation and misunderstanding of expectations. However, all hope is not lost. One way to inspire and reach out to these women is through compelling art that highlights women's contributions to our reach for the stars. Such art can showcase the achievements and successes of women who have defied societal norms and pursued their passion for space exploration. And by sharing these stories, we can encourage young girls to pursue their dreams and aspire to become astronauts, scientists, engineers, and so many other roles in the space industry, helping us push further out to the stars. In conclusion, we can't afford to ignore this issue. It's imperative that we take steps to encourage and inspire young women to pursue careers in the space industry. By doing so, we can improve this attitude, these societal expectations, and pave the way for more inclusive and equitable society. To benefit, here's what we need to do. To benefit from a broad range of female talents and allies, it's essential to create an environment in which women can thrive and be recognized for their contributions. This means promoting the field of women's leadership and making it widely recognized and respected in the space industry. In my art, I'm driven by a desire to make this vision of inclusion and participation by women in space real. Art is a powerful tool for societal change and can help inspire and empower young women to pursue their dreams. In the book, Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath, they offer valuable insights on how to create messages that are memorable and impactful. And according to the Heath brothers, a successful, sticky message should be 1, simple. That means speak to a common, simple, core, irreducible principle or concept. Unexpected. It should include a twist on the expected, a new approach or a viewpoint. Concrete. Should speak to something our audience can relate to, that these young women who are coming up in the world today can relate to. They have a concrete mental image or something to hinge the concept on. It should be credible. It should be speaking, someone who's creating these messages should speak from the reference point of having firsthand knowledge. It should be emotional. And that is, make the emotional connection, make it visceral, something they feel in their core beyond just technical information. And it should tell a story. There's a reason people use and remember parables. Even better, it should tell the story visually. The example I like to use is the stained windows in churches, those beautiful stained windows with the pictures. Those were designed to share the religious stories in a memorable way. Most people during that time frame, when those were really coming to the forefront, couldn't read. And so that's how they got that message out to the people. And I think it was a very, very powerful method. In Malcolm Gladwell's book, The Tipping Point, he explores the concept of the law of the few, which suggests that it only takes a small group of people to take an idea from obscurity to prominence. And this principle can be applied to the field of art, particularly in the case of space art. Although space art is a relatively small genre, it has the power to convey the facts and figures of a relationship with space and those who are working to build that relationship through captivating images. By inspiring and moving the people who see these pieces of art, space art has the potential to create a contagious effect that can help bring more and more attention to space exploration and technology. Now, however, to fully realize the potential of space art, we need more artists to join our quest for the stars. While a small group of space artists can make a significant impact, we need to expand our reach and engage more women in this movement. And by using art to spark interest and curiosity, we can plant the seeds of inspiration that will encourage more women to become involved. Now, NASA has long recognized the power of rich imagery to capture people's hearts and souls and inspire them to learn more about the universe around us. So let's continue to harness this power and use it to propel us forward in our journey for the stars. Now, inspiring through art. This is really cool. This is something a lot of people don't realize. NASA's not new to inspiring understanding and support with art. NASA's space-themed graphics and art were common as far back as the Apollo and Shuttle era. NASA's art program began in 1962, and NASA commissioned works by many famous artists like Andy Warhol, Jamie Wyeth, and even Norman Rockwell. They were all on board with this great mission of spreading the word and the excitement. The program was scaled back in the 1970s, but NASA still hires artists through commission or through their in-house art teams. And they'll frequently gather important space-themed art for their collection. NASA uses artists at JPL to communicate ideas and win allies for proposed projects. And even SETI recognizes the power and value of art through their Artists in Residence program. So let's take a look. This is really impressive figures here. Let's take a look at what art as a powerful medium can have, what the impact it can have on society. Collier's magazines, for instance, dedicated a total of 25 heavily illustrated pages. These are pages where there's text running usually down the bottom third of the page, but the rest of the page is really, really cool space art, trying to convey the idea and excitement. It used 25 of these pages on the topic of space travel from 1952 to 1954. This series of articles played a crucial role in shaping public opinion in the possibility of space travel. Now, now remember, this was 1952 to 1954 when they did the 1955 Gallup poll. The percentage of people who believed it was possible that, and they put it in quotes, of course, back then it was men in rockets rather than people in rockets, but their wording was, it was possible that men in rockets will be able to reach the moon in the next 50 years. It rose from only 15% before those pages of artwork, from 15% up to 38%, nearly 40%. And the Collier's Illustrated series is believed to have been the primary factor in this increase. And I just think that's amazing and a really good example of what art can do. Now, I'm going to use the SUCCESS acronym, the ways of trying to reach people through the simple, unexpected, all those things, and give you examples of what art can do to use those tools. This is my Women's Vote 100th anniversary piece. I just did this piece in 2020, and it marked the 100th anniversary of America's women's right to vote. Now, it's, for me, in my heart, it's a given that protecting their vote, women will never cede this right. And this piece brings that legacy forward as women continue to play a leading and critical role in how we expand out to become a spacefaring civilization. And this speaks to a human need to have a voice and to participate in one's own future. Next piece, and I admit I am just an insanely huge Jill Tarter fan. And I just felt really moved to make this piece after I read an article where she referenced what she called in that article her washing machine declaration, celebrating women in space and astronomy. This piece symbolizes the moment when Jill Tarter, as a young girl, frustrated with the sense that she was being forced to fit society's molds, declared to her father she was going to be an engineer. Her father had been trying to express to her, no, I need, this is the way the world is. I love the fact that you're a tomboy and we can do that, but you're also expected to fulfill these traditional female pursuits. Well, a steady supporter for unconventional interests, his heart melted. He loves her so much. He assured her that she could do anything she wanted if she worked hard enough. She was 8 years old and perched on a washing machine when they had that heart to heart. And she called that moment when she said, okay, fine, great. Thank you, Dad. I'm going to be an engineer. And of course, she went through engineering and then on to astronomy. So she called that moment her washing machine declaration. And this this piece of art for me speaks to the unexpected. It takes a twist on that moment, and it shows Jill leaping free of the vintage washing machine and its symbolic enveloping flood. And it represents her leaping free from being swallowed by those stereotypical expectations. Concrete. Now, this was inspired by, I was so happy this happened. NASA Langley has this huge wind tunnel that they've been using since forever, since World War II. And it's gone through the ages with each iteration of the space program, back in Apollo, but even before that, Mercury, all those programs. And this was inspired from a first ever media tour they had at NASA Langley. This was for media only. And I managed to kind of weasel myself into the tour there as an artist. And this was the first time they've ever taken people backstage, so to speak, in the wind tunnel complex. These are wind tunnels that you can see in the art here. This is the turbine. And someone's sitting there taking their lunch break while they're maintaining these glorious pieces of equipment. This turbine forces air through the wind tunnels. Some of the wind tunnels, if I remember correctly, can force air through at like Mach 7, Mach 9. It was just absolutely insane. Well, here, this is a picture of a worker. He's a technician breaking for lunch in one of the many turbines. And they even took me through the wind tunnel where that scene from the Hidden Pictures movie was. It was just insane. Well, working backstage, like so many before us, like Henrietta Leavitt, for example, who provided us with the key to calculating astronomical distances, that is a standard candle, while working in the cramped room with other human computers, she's a perfect example of behind the scenes roles that don't always get the big news items about them, but they contribute just wonderfully to the whole thing. And this speaks to something concrete. It's a very relatable, common real life experience. It's lunch at work, difficult, challenging work, but it drops it into the context of space exploration. All the tough, challenging work in the arena, you just don't get the fame, but you get all the rewards emotionally. It's just fabulous. Well, credible. This piece I call The Long Game, and it's in honor of Wally Funk. Wally Funk came to the world's attention when she went to space on Bezos' New Shepard in 2021. Her story provided a stellar example of fortitude and determination in playing the long game. She knew that things weren't going to happen for her easily. They weren't going to happen for her quickly. And she had to set her sights years and years and years down the road and just hope that things would happen for her and work towards them, assuming that opportunities would present themselves. She grew up in a world that limited her horizons, but she pushed forward regardlessly, ceaselessly pursuing opportunities in college. In the Mercury 13 program, it wasn't an actual program, it was a test study, but it's considered a program, and they really went through a lot for that. And in the FAA, she broke multiple glass ceilings in the FAA. Right now, she continues to help with outreach and encouragement, and her efforts and the efforts of others to put cracks in the glass ceiling for others, like America's first woman in space, Sally Ride. We just owe a huge debt of gratitude to these people. And this piece speaks to the credible. Wally Funk's work and background became public knowledge, and it played out in the world scene with her 2021 ride to space. It was an inspiring story, but it also has gravitas. It adds the actual, this is something that people saw, they witnessed, they understood as valid and important. It was credentialed. Here's a piece that, for me, it speaks to the emotional. This one was a piece straight from the heart. A universal story of love of a father for his child writ large. Astronaut Gene Cernan's daughter, Tracy Dawn Cernan, wanted only more time with her father. And when Gene went to the moon, he kept Tracy in his heart. And to express this, he traced her name in the lunar dust. Now, without atmosphere to disturb the tracing, Tracy's name remains even now on the moon as a testament to her father's love. So we can all, whenever we look up at the moon, we can think of this the next time we look up there, because without atmosphere, that name still remains traced in the dust. There's nothing to disturb that tracing of her name. So you think about that each time you look at the moon. So that speaks to the emotional. This painting depicts love, the family connections that are so deep that they transcend space travel. We all relate to the love within a family unit that enables and strengthens the visible efforts of its individual members. Okay, now this one is a work in progress. I've actually progressed a little beyond this. I'm starting to lay in metallic foil for the solar shield there, and is starting to lay in colors for her. But this is a piece about the small group of dedicated women that brought us all closer to the moon. They sewed the Apollo 11 spacesuits, had to have an insane amount of precision. Each suit had 21 layers of gossamer thin fabric, and it was sewn to a precise tolerance of 1/64th of an inch. That's every single piece they worked on. And that thin margin meant the difference between victory and tragedy. These were the spacesuits. These were their atmospheres while they were on the moon. Later, during the Skylab era, or actually when the first launch, women stitched together a sunshade for Skylab. Skylab had, during its launch, something happened and it damaged on its way up its thermal protection. They discovered it once it got up there, and these women had to, bam, slap right to it, stitch together a replacement for it. And the repair kits were launched in just 11 days after the accident. Now, without that heat shield, the workshop on Skylab would be uninhabitable, and the heat threatened its equipment and functionality. So this speaks to the story. These are these women living out this story of interacting and creating huge safety portions and functional portions of this space race story we're all familiar with. The Apollo 11 story is universally moving. They played a part in that. This lesser known story of Skylab's rescue is equally moving. And in both stories, we have heroic storylines of the women enabling these victories. Now, wrapping up, back to my point, we have to share these stories with people. We have to share these stories with women coming up who don't realize necessarily, haven't become aware of their own potential for contributing. A thriving and culturally rich human presence in space isn't inevitable. We've all been working so hard for it, but it's not inevitable. Without strong support and contributions from a full variety of demographics, it's not going to happen. We've come a long way, but with female representation flatlined at 20% for the last 30 years, now is not the time to take our foot off the gas. So how can we encourage girls and women? Show them sticky, inspiring examples, models to emulate. Leverage art as a tool more often and in more ways. It can be a stealthy way to lift up girls and young women in societal pockets that don't present roles for them. And here to the right, just a review of a few of the pieces of art And I'll go ahead and leave this screen up for my sources if anyone wants to take a look and kind of explore further and get a better fleshed out understanding of what we can do to share these stories of the women who've contributed, make it palpable, and have it reach lots of people, including all those women who might not understand that they too can contribute. So that's my presentation, folks. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm open to any questions. Sabine, I think is back to you. Let me see. Okay, well, tell you what, while Sabine is busy and Adriano's out, I will go ahead and just kind of flip back through the pages and let you take a look at the pieces of art. Sabine, Adriano, when you get back, I am ready. Let me get back to the beginning here. Okay. Hello?
Okay.
Hi, Adriano. Hey, thank you. Yeah, I wrapped up. I'm going to flip down to the screen where I have my references in case anyone wants to see them. But I've finished up, and I thank you for the opportunity to share this. I can take any questions if there are any.
Okay, let's see if we have any question from the audience. We don't have questions so far. However, no, I'm also sorry because I had an emergency to manage in the last 20 minutes. No,
Yeah.
50 minutes.
Sometimes life gets in the way.
Yeah, of course. Life is always going on with different things. And so sometimes we have to stop what we are doing and do something else.
Yeah.
Yes, I think I have a question because I see that you are a very attentive and analytic observer of our life and the reality and so on. What do you think will be our near future in terms that we will see maybe the first woman on the moon with our tennis program maybe in 2 or 3 years. And do you think that women will progress filling more and more places and roles in the space program? And if we really start to have civilian space development, how do you see the role of women in this great how can I don't find the word, epopea? I think it could be the right.
Yeah. Well, I think that NASA was the core for getting us all to space. But NASA was born into a world where the expectation was that men would be taking the lead, and that there's nothing wrong or sinister with that. It's just the way the world was at that time. But I think in their culture, it takes a long time for an organization's culture to change and then bring in fresh blood and let them populate up through.
Sorry, you don't have other slides to show? Your presentation is over?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe you can stop sharing.
Stop sharing.
Oh, okay, stop sharing. Okay.
Yeah, I would like.
There you go. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
I would like to thank you for this interesting presentation, and I'm really grateful to have you here. And also thank you from Iving Tiffany. He found this presentation also very interesting, and he says Artemis plans include a woman to be on first crew. Yes, I think women are now going into space, and many nations are sending women into space as astronauts. And I think it is very important. What I wanted to ask you is, from what are you getting inspired? Because always your pictures have a really deep meaning, have a history, and I really, really like this. So do you get first the story and then you got the idea, I could make this picture out of this?
Yes,
What's your
yes.
approach?
Yes, I like to read about the backstories behind the Apollo program, the space shuttle program, all of those space adventures that we have women involved, and we just don't hear about it. But if you do a bit of reading, you can find out about these people. And I will say that it's easy to just find the technical explanations of what happened, but it's a little harder to read and find material that tells the backstories, the human stories. So often what I will do is I'll just find like a single line reference to something that piques my interest, and then I have to do further research on my own to find more and more information about that. But yeah, it's out there. It's just you have to dig a little beneath the surface. And a perfect example for me is the story about Tracy Dawn Cernan. When Gene Cernan was going to go to the moon, he was a very, very busy man, very busy astronaut, getting ready, doing all the training. And all she wanted, she just said, Dad, I just want you to be home and let's go camping. Let's do something. But he couldn't. And it's that heartbreak and sacrifice that really touched me. And then when I heard the story about him writing her name in the lunar dust, oh, it broke my heart. So I had to do something about that. And it's those stories that just make you feel like you have to make the art.
Has to
Yeah, I'm afraid that Google will not be enough to find the history of people, of the human beings that made the space story, space history, and that will make space history in our near future. Google is not enough. We should go and talk with the people.
Yes.
Maybe some daughter or children or nephews of the people who made the history, and to understand what was the feeling, what was their life, their real life in this adventure.
Yes.
If you read the book by Scott Kelly, Endurance, you will find a little bit of his personal.
I will have to read that. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And it is, of course, we don't know, because we never left the Earth surface, the ground, so we don't know how one can feel being even only 300 kilometers in orbit, and what does it mean? The solitude, the empty, the vacuum all around, the space, the black sky, all these kind of things. And I had the luckiness to listen to a small lecture by Silvia Avila Rauch. She is a psychologist, and she is specialized in a space psychology. And she mentions a lot of things that can happen to our mind being in space.
Yeah, and it's that I'm sure it goes even deeper than this, but just for general population, there's that the thing they call the overview effect, which is kind of what you were talking about. But I think that the more people, slowly but surely, it'll have a multiplying effect. The more people that go out there and experience that overview effect and share it with others, the more the world's population will understand why it's so important for us to get out there.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
You have to speak to the hearts and the minds, not just the minds, but the hearts also.
Yes. But what I like in your lecture is that you look behind the scene, and we know that women were not allowed to go to universities some not so long time ago, and they worked behind the scene, and they were calculating, they were they discovered things, and but they were not taken serious, and it takes really, we have to cave or to bring them to the surface, and to get them the honor they deserve. And this is what you are doing, and I really, really like this in your pictures, and also the story from oh God, the wash machine declaration.
Oh, yes, yes.
Jill
Oh, I
Tarter,
love
Jill
it.
Tarter. Yes,
yeah.
that she was like a child. Yeah, I wanna be a scientist, and today it's normal that women are working and as scientists, and they are famous too, and they are Nobel Prize winners. And okay, Marie Curie won 2 Nobel Prizes in the last century. But this is really an exception, yeah.
Yeah, and it again, it still is, because you see that flat line, and we're still at 20%. And I understand that for a whole list of reasons, women have, and still to a degree, don't act on a desire to get out into the space industry. So that's why, and we don't have to assign evil motives or anything sinister to it. It's the way the world works, but we can change the way the world works. We can change it so that this is normal, and all those pockets where out in the countryside where the girls only know about getting married and having babies, they can do more.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And we can also, we will marry and get babies in space.
Yes. Yeah, we don't have to stop doing that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that will be a long way to this, because we know this will
Health
be very
reasons.
difficult.
Yeah.
Yes, I've seen it at the Mars Society convention. They were also talking about school and on Mars, or kindergarten, and but yeah, they have to think about this, and I'm really happy that they are thinking not only in rather functional terms when constructing space habitat, that they are also thinking and divertisement and entertainment, and
Yes.
because we have seen how important it is, because we have experienced coronavirus pandemic and the shelter in place, and people have experienced what does it mean to be closed in your flat or in a room, and you cannot go out, and you have to entertain yourself. Here on Earth we have TV, we have books, and all the stuff, but in space they have to invent something too, and I think it is very, very important. And
yeah,
I think,
the emotional and mental health.
yes, and for the mixture, I think also it is very important to have women in space, because if there are only men, I think you need to balance, between women and men, because only men, they get crazy, I think.
Yes. Look,
Yeah, well, I guess you could argue the other way too. If it were only women, then it could be crazy in a different way. We need each other.
But believe me, we also have ways to get crazy together, men and women.
Yeah, okay. This is true.
Yeah.
Okay, I give some comments here from the chat. Corey says she loves that you use the picture from The Expanse, Woman in Space. And I think Tiffany says overview effect is very powerful, can change people's outlook on Earth and saving it. So
yes.
There's some comments, and yeah.
I think one of the, like they said in the comments, the overview effect is good for people who are out there, but it also, when we come back to Earth, it helps us appreciate the Earth more. I really do believe that in a number of ways, our expanding into space is going to help us preserve and maintain a healthy civilization on Earth. It's not just about space.
Yes, we had a discussion recently. We had discussion with Frank White.
Wow.
The author of the overview effect.
Yeah.
And we compared the overview effect with the outside look, because you know, William Shatner, the Captain Kirk, he went to suborbital altitude with the New Shepard, with the Blue Origin, and when he came back down on Earth, he said that he was scared by the empty vacuum outside. So we were discussing with Frank White about the two dimensions of being in space. There's something like a yin and yang, no? As you can look at Earth and see how this planet is small, and we are together. We are all together on the surface, and we are crazy fighting one each other while we are so fragile in the middle of the universe. And this is the overview effect. And on the other side, looking outside, yes, somebody can be scared, but somebody can also start to think about freedom.
Yes.
The immense freedom that empty space gives to us, looking in a 3D dimension, no more in a flat two dimension.
Right. Yes.
In 3D dimension, thinking in 3D dimension. I believe that this will kick off a cultural revolution, very, very big. And
it will change the way our minds work. It will change. In history, there was a time period, right? I think it was like from 1000 BC to 0 or 50 AD. And it just seemed like something in humanity shifted. And all of a sudden, there were all these great advances in psychology, philosophy, engineering, building. Everything just seemed to get a kickstart because something in the mind, in the collective minds, changed, and they got some traction, and they called it the axial age. And I think that the same kind of thing is likely to happen as we get out into space and we experience that 3D effect that you were talking about, Adriana. It'll change the way we view things, and it'll open up new worlds and perspectives for us.
And also Andrew Kuiper, the Dutch astronaut, has a nice project. He developed a space bus, and you can enter in this bus. You get a chair like in a space ship, and you have this virtual reality thing.
Oh yes, yes, yeah.
Yes, and you have because he wants to distribute this overview effect, and I was inside, and it is really amazing. You are in the starship, and then you go up into space, and then you see the Earth from up, and we flew to the moon, and I would have loved to be longer time on the moon. So we flew over the moon or by, and it was really, really amazing. And I think this is a nice project, and he developed this for children to give them the impression of the overview effect, to get them interested into space. And but I think it would be also nice for adults. I enjoyed it a lot. And
I think with commercial space, SpaceX and all those other companies that are coming up, the opportunities for people to experience something like that are going to expand like crazy. And NASA and ESA, all the space organizations, they were very important because we needed governments to lead the way. But now we have a better understanding of how to get there, what we can do there, and now we have all these different companies in commercial space that are going to really open up lots of doors.
That's good.
We also had the discussions during recent meetings, virtual meetings, about a similitude between now that we are starting to go outside in space and some 1,000 years ago, people that were starting to move outside the Mesopotamia, the so-called fertile half moon of Mesopotamia.
Yes.
And they had similar problems because in Mesopotamia, the earth, the ground was fertile and very rich of vegetables and animals and everything. But going outside and coming to the north, it was very hard for that people because they had to start maybe cultivating something in a hard ground that it was quite different from the one they were used. So if we think about the difference from between our culture and technology now and the culture and technology of that time, so maybe the challenge was not very much different, no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the great age of exploration, where we were going to the poles, the North Pole, the South Pole, and we had to learn how to go there. They used to go there with all kinds of things they didn't need, things that weren't helpful, and they had to learn ways of getting on those ships and going to those hostile environments and surviving. And the same thing's going to apply. Yeah, it's always new anytime you expand.
Mm-hmm. There are no more questions in the chat, but I really thank you for your nice lecture, for this interesting discussion. And I would like to remind, we are a non-profit organization, and please support us, become a member of SRI. We are really an interesting organization. And I would like to mention the next webinar. Danielle Futzela, she is a Dutch artist, and she is really an amazing artist. She's illustrator, and she also does space art, and she's really amazing. And I'm really happy to have her here too. So like you, Priscilla. And I would like to close with the words from Ivan Tiffany. He likes getting crazy together. So I think we need both men and women. And let us become crazy or getting crazy together, but in a positive way. I wish you all a nice evening. Thank you, Priscilla, for being here. Thank you to the audience for joining us. And thank you, Adriano, for being my co-host. And I wish you all...
Unfortunately, Bernard is not with us now because he is in away. He is in the away to make an initiative with analog training and things. So he couldn't participate today. So we are missing his comments and the questions, but it will be next time. Okay.
But I'm sure he will watch the recording. We experienced this because of the different time zones. That not always many people are participating, but afterwards you can see the people are watching this. And so thank you again. And I wish you all a nice evening.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.